topic is called Say Hello to Design. And my name is Ashwood from Insomniac Design. We're headquartered in Washington, D.C. So, many years ago, when I first got out of grad school, I had my first internship over the summer. And that was probably about 10 or 11 years ago. And I worked for a large Fortune 500 company in the travel industry. And one of the things my professors in grad school had taught me was, when you go out there, you take initiative. And that's how you succeed out there in the real world. I got there about 2 weeks into my internship. I took the initiative and I thought I had a brilliant idea to turn the company around and solve the problem. So I spent the next week or two putting a 64-slide PowerPoint deck together. And I waited for my executive sponsor to leave the office. I went into her office, laid it on the table, hoping she would find it next morning. When I come into work next morning, my boss comes up to me and says, "It's great that you took initiative, but 64 slides is going to eat up all the rest of the year. So go and bring that down to 5 slides." So I spent the next 3 months of my internship trying to bring 64 down to 5 slides. And it was a tough job. And that was a very valuable lesson learned. The reason I bring it up is today's communication age is all about precision, being brief, concise, through the point, and trying to tell a story. I'm going to play a little clip from the show Mad Men.
This is Joe Harriman, Lynn Taylor. No Eastmans today, unfortunately. They're all back in the lab.
It's a wonderful facility, but they don't take vacations.
What do they show? Slides of them working?
So, have you figured out a way to work the wheel into it?
We know it's hard because wheels aren't really seen as exciting technology, even though they are the original.
Well, technology is a glittering lure. But there's the rare occasion when the public can be engaged on a level beyond flash, if they have a sentimental bond with the product. My first job, I was in-house at a fur company with this old pro copywriter, Greek, named Teddy. And Teddy told me the most important idea in advertising is new. Creates an itch. You simply put your product in there as a kind of calamine lotion. But he also talked about a deeper bond with the product. Nostalgia. It's delicate, but potent. Sweetheart. Teddy told me that in Greek, nostalgia literally means the pain from an old wound. It's a twinge in your heart, far more powerful than memory alone. This device isn't a spaceship. It's a time machine. Backwards, forwards. It takes us to a place where we ache to go again. It's not called the wheel. It's called the carousel. Travel the way a child travels. Round and around, back home again. To a place where we know we are loved.
Talks about appealing to people's sentiments, and that's really, really important. Now, if you look at companies like Starbucks, they sell coffee, so do a lot of other coffee shops. but what differentiates them is the brand that they built for themselves. And here you see, when you go to a Starbucks coffee store and you ask for coffee, because I want a small coffee, the employee behind the counter is going to tell you, we don't have small, we have tall. And they built a brand that way, and it's all about how you communicate what you're selling to your clients. Think about some of the popular shows. Some of the shows that have run for years and years, some up to a decade, and it's very popular, everybody knows about it. What is the common theme among some of these, like Friends and Lost and Mad Men? The fact that the story is built around the characters. The characters carry the story. And you take the characters out of these shows, they don't have a show anymore. So it's the design of the characters that kind of precedes the development of the story. And that's really important. You look at advertising, you look at the TV media, the soap operas, and design, and websites, and software products. How do you appeal to your customers? How do you get the users engaged and build a community of engaged users that want to drive deeper? So this is the information age. There's a lot of data out there. There's a lot of information, and we're all trying to tell a story. Companies are trying to tell a story in the services that they provide. They try to tell a story in the consulting that they provide, in the products that they manufacture and sell. It's a lot of information. The success of product, service, or a consulting service that you're trying to sell is how do you tell a compelling story to the audience, to your target market, and how do you appeal to the users? And that's really important. Steve Thru, a very popular author, wrote a book called Don't Make Me Think. It's a very popular book amongst user experience designers and designers in general. It's all about how when someone engages with a product or an online website, how do I get to a point with 3 clicks? How do I not have to think about what I'm looking for? And it just presents the data that I'm looking for by itself. And this is really the fundamental crux of a good design and being able to sell a good product. Big data is a pretty big movement in recent years. The government is investing heavily into big data. Intelligence agencies are realizing there's a ton of data that's out there every day. If you look at the stats here, it's 2.9 million emails sent every second, 20 hours of video uploaded every minute, and 50 million tweets per day, and I could probably give you a ton of other data. This is a lot of data that's going out there. So now nonprofits, NGOs like the World Bank and the UN, government agencies are thinking about how do I use big data and analyze that data in a way that makes sense and would make them intelligent decisions. If you look at some of the other stats in the bottom right-hand corner here, 40% projected growth in global data created per year. However, to contrast that, only 5% projected growth in global IT spending per year. Let's think about that for a moment. It's a lot of growth with very little spending. What does that mean to us? What it really means is we have limited time and limited money to be able to take this data and analyze it and use it in intelligent ways across a variety of sectors. So how do we do that? Again, we go back to how do we tell a compelling story? How do we make sense of all of this data that's around here and be able to communicate to your audience what it is that you're making sense of this data? And if you look at 57.6% of organizations surveyed say that big data is a huge challenge, and it is, and you can see why, just given the number of emails and tweets and so many other social media data that we don't even look at. 72% consider driving operational efficiency to be the biggest benefit of big data strategy. Now that's a really important figure to consider. It really boils back down to, sure, there's a lot of data out there, there's a lot of analytics that can come out of this, but how do I tell you about that analytic decision-making capability in 60 seconds? Is that even possible? So there's a lot of effort going on across different sectors by different organizations. There are organizations that solely focus on big data technology, and they're doing it well. It's a learning curve. Here's an example of, and many of you may be familiar with this, a lot of organizations, big and small, still use Excel spreadsheets to put data together, and we go and create pivot tables out of it and all kinds of data tables and try to make sense of it, put together graphs and Excel spreadsheets and PowerPoint decks. But what if we took this data and presented it to the executive team or the senior management team in this format? It's the exact same data that's stored in Excel